What can one woman do against an entire German patrol? The fascists thought they had captured a helpless peasant woman. They mocked her, humiliated her, prepared to finish her off. But they didn't know the main thing. Standing before them was one of the most dangerous snipers of the NKVD. 309 confirmed kills. Senior Lieutenant Irina Gromova. And today, this count would increase. But to understand who this woman really was, we need to go back 3 years to a time when the world still lived in peace, and no one could imagine what horrors awaited humanity just around the corner. Belgorod region, village of Krasny Yar, summer of 1938. Irina Gromova was milking cows in the collective farm barn when her life changed forever. She was only 22 years old. A simple peasant face, auburn braid to her waist, strong worker's hands. No one in the village knew her secret. 3 years earlier, Irina had been called up for military service. It turned out the girl had phenomenal eyesight and absolute composure. At the shooting range, she hit targets from 300 meters without missing. The unit commander immediately noticed her talent. 6 months later, Irina was sent to special NKVD courses in Moscow. The training was brutal. 24 girls started the course, only 8 finished. Irina was the best, shooting with a Mosin rifle equipped with optical sights. Camouflage, forest survival, hand-to-hand combat, German language. A year and a half of continuous training transformed the modest milkmaid into a lethal weapon. After completing the courses, Irina was returned to her native village, officially demobilized due to health reasons. In reality, it was deep cover. If war broke out, she was to remain in occupied territory and work, gathering intelligence, eliminating officers, coordinating partisan movements. Irina returned to her cows. The villagers welcomed her as an ordinary girl who had served in the army. No one suspected anything strange. She milked cows again, worked in the hayfields, went to the village council for bread rations. An ordinary Soviet girl in an ordinary village. But at night, Irina trained. In the forest, far from prying eyes, she fired her hidden rifle. Every week she received a radiogram from Moscow with passwords and contacts. She waited for orders. She knew war was coming. The only question was when. June 22nd, 1941 began as an ordinary Sunday. Irina woke up at 5 in the morning and went to the farm to milk the cows. A warm summer morning. The smell of freshly cut grass. Birds sang in the bushes. Peaceful life flowed on as usual. At noon, a motorcyclist rushed into the village from the district. He gathered everyone in the square by the village council and read the government announcement. Germany had attacked the Soviet Union. War had begun. The village froze. Women wept. Men smoked silently. Children didn't understand what was happening. The collective farm chairman announced the mobilization of all men of draft age. By evening, 70 people had left for the front. The village emptied. Irina received an encrypted radiogram 3 days later. The order was brief. Stay in place, await occupation, make contact at the first opportunity, begin operations to eliminate enemy officers. The center calculated that the Germans would reach Belgorod region in 2 to 3 months. The front collapsed faster. 5 weeks later, in early August, German planes appeared in the sky. They bombed the railway, the bridge over the river, the district center. The village hadn't suffered yet. Too small, invisible on the map. On August 10th, retreating Red Army soldiers passed along the road, exhausted, wounded, in torn uniforms. The village met them with bread and milk. The unit commander, a major with a bandaged head, warned the collective farm chairman. The Germans would be here in 2 days. Evacuate. Most residents refused to leave. Where would they go? Homes, farms, livestock. The old people said, "We'll survive. Germans are people too, not beasts." How wrong they were. Irina stayed, hid her rifle, radio, and NKVD documents in the forest in a specially prepared cache. She put on an old faded sundress, tied a headscarf, became an ordinary village woman, and waited. The waiting didn't last long. August 12th, 1941. The Germans entered the village. They came at dawn. 3 trucks, 2 motorcycles with machine guns, a passenger car, about 50 soldiers and officers unloaded in the square by the village council. Posted sentries, raised the swastika flag. The unit commander, SS Hauptmann Kirchsteiner, gathered all residents in the square. Tall, well-groomed, in an impeccable uniform. He spoke through a translator, a policeman. He declared the village occupied territory of the Third Reich. Curfew from 8 in the evening until 6 in the morning. For disobedience, execution. For helping partisans, execution of the entire family. For sabotage, execution of 10 hostages. Irina stood in the crowd with downcast eyes, clutching her headscarf. She played the role of a frightened peasant woman. Inside, Rudge boiled. She memorized faces, ranks, weapons, counted soldiers, noted the location of posts. Professional reconnaissance. Hauptmann Kirchsteiner chose the collective farm chairman's house for headquarters. The owner and his family were thrown out into the street. Soldiers occupied the school and club. The rest were placed in outlying huts, evicting residents. The village turned into a German garrison. The first days of occupation passed relatively calmly. The Germans confiscated food, drove away livestock, took all metal objects, but didn't kill yet. Irina continued working on the farm, milking the remaining cows. The Germans set a delivery quota of 50 liters of milk per day. Don't fulfill it. Punishment follows. A week later, the reprisals began. Gestapo Obersturmführer Walter Kruger brought a list of communists and activists. At night, they arrested 10 people. In the morning, they were shot in the square in front of the entire village. Among those executed was teacher Pyotr Semyonovich, whom Irina had known since childhood. The village froze in horror. The Germans showed who was boss here. The traitor policeman Semyon Kovalev, a former collective farm groom, now served the invaders. He beat his fellow villagers, mocked them, showed loyalty to his new masters. Everyone despised him, but feared him. He had power. Irina endured, knowing it was too early to act. She needed to wait for the right moment, study the disposition of forces, find allies. At night, she made her way into the forest, checked the cache, transmitted intelligence via radio. The center thanked her for information and ordered her to wait. But the waiting wouldn't last long. September brought new trials. The Germans began taking young people to Germany for labor. Every week they took 5 to 10 people, loaded them into freight cars, transported them to the unknown. Only a few returned later. Irina was on the list of those to be deported. She was 25 years old, healthy, hardworking, exactly what the Reich needed. But she couldn't leave. Her mission was here. She had to resort to cunning. She pretended to be sick with tuberculosis, coughed up blood, bit her tongue, feigned weakness, deliberately lost 10 kilograms in a week, starved herself on purpose. The German doctor examined her, grimaced, crossed her off the list. The Reich didn't need sick people. The plan worked. Irina remained in the village, continued working, continued watching, gathering information about German officers, their habits, routes of movement. The center was preparing an operation to eliminate them. October 1941 arrived, and with it came the first combat mission. If you want to know what happened next, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment. Could you live a double life? knowing that every day could be your last? Tomorrow, this modest milkmaid would become death itself for the Nazi occupiers. And her count of 309 would just begin to grow. October 1941. Irina Gromova received her first combat assignment from the center. Target, Gestapo officer Walter Kruger, the same one who had executed teacher Pyotr Semyonovich and 9 other innocent people. Kruger made daily rounds of surrounding villages, searching for partisans and communists. He traveled in a passenger car with 1 guard. This was a mistake that would cost him his life. Irina prepared for 3 days. She studied Kruger's route, chose the perfect ambush location on a forest road where the car would slow down on a turn. To the left, dense forest for retreat. To the right, a ravine. At night in the forest, she retrieved her Mosin rifle with optical sight from the cache. Her familiar, beloved weapon. She zeroed the rifle at 300 meters, checked the mechanics, cleaned the optics. October 23, 1941, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Irina lay in the bushes 250 meters from the road. Cold autumn wind, yellow leaves falling on her camouflage net. Kruger's car appeared in her scope. The machine slowed on the turn. Her heart beat evenly, 60 beats per minute. Breathing calm, finger on the trigger. 1 shot, silence, a second shot. The first bullet pierced the windshield, entered the Gestapo officer's head. The car veered into the ditch. The guard jumped out, grabbed his submachine gun. The second shot, the guard fell. Irina crawled to the car, took Kruger's documents, a map showing German unit positions, a list of agents. She vanished into the forest like a ghost. An hour later, the Germans discovered the bodies and began searching for the killer. They cordoned off the village and conducted raids. Irina calmly milked cows at the farm, a simple peasant woman in a faded sundress and headscarf. No one suspected anything. The count was open. 2 enemies eliminated. But this was only the beginning. November brought the second operation. Target, German garrison commander Major von Garden. Location, village outskirts, morning inspection of posts. Shooting distance, 380 meters, 1 shot, 1 hit. The count, 3 eliminated enemies. In December, a convoy with ammunition. Method, sniper fire at the truck driver. Result, the truck drove off the bridge into the river and exploded. 5 German soldiers killed. Count, 8 eliminated enemies. January 1942 brought danger of exposure. The Germans began suspecting a sniper was working in the area. They brought in hunters with dogs and conducted forest sweeps. Irina barely avoided capture. She had to sit in icy swamp water for 4 hours. Her lips turned blue, her body went numb, but she didn't move. The dogs passed within 50 meters, but lost the scent in the water. When the Germans left, she crawled out, barely able to move her frozen limbs. That night, she developed a fever, but she couldn't see a doctor. Any illness would attract attention. She treated herself with herbs and willpower. 3 days later, the fever broke. She was ready to fight again. February 1942, Irina found herself on the deportation list to Germany. She was 25 years old, healthy, hardworking, exactly what the Reich needed. But she couldn't leave. Her mission was here. She resorted to cunning. She pretended to have tuberculosis. She coughed up blood, having bitten her tongue. She feigned weakness. In 1 week, she deliberately lost 10 kilograms through starvation. She stopped washing, made her face pale, put dark circles under her eyes. The German doctor examined her, frowned, and crossed her off the list. Sick people weren't needed by the Reich. The plan worked. Irina stayed and continued her hunt. March brought the 4th operation. Target, a group of 4 officers at a meeting in the school. Method: shooting through a window from the attic of a neighboring house. Irina spent 2 days studying their schedule. The officers gathered every Tuesday at 10 in the morning. She infiltrated the attic the night before, made a loophole in the wall, prepared her position. When morning came, she waited. At exactly 10 o'clock, 4 officers sat at the table. Through the scope, she could see their faces. They were discussing something, laughing, drinking coffee. Ordinary people, if you didn't know they were executioners. 3 shots in 15 seconds. 3 officers dead, 1 wounded. She disappeared before the alarm sounded. Count: 11 eliminated enemies. April brought personal revenge. Target: the traitor policeman, Semyon Kovalev. For the mockery of fellow villagers, for beatings, for service to the occupiers. Location: road between villages. Distance: 420 meters, one of her longest shots. Kovalev rode a bicycle, humming a German song, pleased with himself. He didn't know that death was watching him through an optical sight. 1 shot. Kovalev fell from the bicycle and didn't get up. The bullet hit his heart. The village quietly rejoiced, but pretended to mourn. The Germans suspected nothing. Kovalev had many enemies. Anyone could have killed him. But Irina knew she had to be more careful. The net was tightening. May 1942, a special punitive detachment arrived in the area. Commander: SS Standartenführer von Salzburg. 150 soldiers, trained counter-snipers, dogs. Purpose: find and destroy the ghost. A reward was announced: 10,000 Reichsmarks for the sniper's head. Von Salzburg was a professional. He had hunted partisans in Poland and Yugoslavia. He knew how snipers thought and worked. He studied each incident, each killing. He understood that one person was working in the area. A very good shooter. Patient, disciplined. He would find this ghost and hang him in the square. But he didn't yet know that the ghost was a woman. Summer passed in a deadly game of cat and mouse. Irina changed tactics. She stopped working from permanent positions, never shot from the same place twice, constantly moved. Sometimes she didn't shoot for weeks, letting the Germans relax. Then suddenly struck, taking 2 or 3 lives in one day. Von Salzburg went mad with rage. He couldn't catch the invisible enemy. His soldiers feared the forest. They said a Russian witch lived there who could see through walls and hit from impossible distances. The count continued to grow. 15, 20, 30 eliminated enemies. Each number was a German soldier or officer who would never return home. By September 1942, Irina's count had reached 37 eliminated Germans. She was becoming overconfident. The forest ghost, as the Germans called her. But even the best hunters sometimes fall into traps. The center transmitted a new assignment: eliminate 2 communications officers who were supposed to drive along a forest road. Irina prepared her position as usual. But this was a trap. Von Salzburg had developed a plan. 2 officers were bait. In the forest, 50 soldiers in ambush. They had waited a week, driving the same route every day. They knew the sniper was patient, but not eternal. Sooner or later, she would strike. Irina took her position, aimed, and at the moment of the shot, gunfire erupted from all sides. Bullets slammed into the ground around her. She tried to retreat, but the escape route was cut off. The Germans had surrounded her in a semicircle. A bullet hit her shoulder, a second grazed her side. The rifle fell. Blood flowed. Consciousness blurred. But she didn't scream. Senior lieutenant of the NKVD didn't scream. German soldiers cautiously approached, expecting to see a male sniper. They saw a woman in peasant dress. Shock and disbelief. "Das ist eine Frau?" one shouted. Von Salzburg approached, looked at the bloodied milkmaid, ordered her tied up. They roughly lifted her and dragged her to the car. They brought her back to the village as a prisoner. The villagers saw bound Irina, and their faces showed shock and horror. Now they understood it was she who had been the ghost. Simple milkmaid Irina, an NKVD sniper. Von Salzburg brought Irina to headquarters and threw her on the floor before his desk. German officers looked at her with curiosity and contempt. A woman sniper who had killed 37 of their comrades. They were going to enjoy her interrogation and execution. But they didn't know one thing. Irina Gromova wasn't just a sniper. She was an NKVD agent trained in surviving captivity and escape. She had a plan, and in the forest, just 2 kilometers from the village, a cache with backup weapons lay hidden. The count wasn't finished yet. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the final part. How will Irina break out of captivity? How many more Germans will she add to her count? And what awaits von Salzburg, the hunter who caught the wrong prey? Leave a like and write in the comments how you would try to escape from German headquarters. German garrison headquarters in the village of Krasny Yar. September 1942. Night. Irina Gromova lay on the cold basement floor, hands and feet bound. Her shoulder and side burned from wounds. Her head spun from blood loss. But her consciousness remained clear. Upstairs, the Germans celebrated capturing the ghost. Drunken laughter, clinking glasses, obscene songs. Tomorrow morning, she would be interrogated. Then public execution in the square to intimidate the population. But Irina wasn't planning to wait until morning. Midnight, the operation began. During NKVD courses, they had taught her to free herself from any bonds. She felt along the wall for the edge of a nail protruding from the basement wall. She rubbed the ropes against the rusty metal for 40 minutes. Her hands were free. The pain was hellish, but bearable. She assessed the situation. About 20 Germans in headquarters, most drunk after the celebration, 1 sentry at the basement entrance, 2 more on duty upstairs. Weapons. The sentry had a pistol and knife. Irina stood, leaning against the wall. She knocked on the basement door and in a weak voice asked for water. The sentry opened the door and entered. Irina was behind the door, a lightning strike with the edge of her palm to his neck, hand-to-hand combat techniques from NKVD courses. The sentry fell without a sound. She took his Luger pistol, knife, and belt with ammunition. She climbed the stairs. 2 guards were playing cards and didn't expect danger from inside. 2 shots from the Luger, both dead. She grabbed an MP-40 submachine gun and ran out of headquarters. The Germans upstairs raised the alarm, hearing the shots. Submachine gun bursts behind her. Bullets whistled past, 200 meters to the forest. Her wounds bled, her legs buckled, but she ran. In the forest, she disappeared into darkness between the trees. The Germans called for reinforcement. Searchlights, dogs, shouted commands. The manhunt began. Irina knew the forest like the back of her hand. Every path, every ravine. The Germans wandered with flashlights while she moved in darkness like a cat. But her wounds slowed her. Blood left a trail. The dogs followed the scent. A group of 5 Germans caught up with her at a stream. Irina took cover behind a fallen tree, the MP-40 in her hands. They didn't see her in the darkness. A short burst, 3 Germans fell. The rest retreated and called for backup. Count: 40 eliminated enemies. To the cache, still 1 kilometer. The Germans surrounded the forest from 3 sides. Von Salzburg personally led the operation. 100 soldiers against 1 wounded woman. 2 in the morning, Irina reached the cache, an old oak with a hollow 2 meters high. Inside, a waterproof bag. Real equipment. Mosin rifle with optical sight, 3 clips of ammunition, 60 rounds total. Radio, NKVD documents, medical supplies. She took out bandages and redressed her wounds. She injected herself with morphine. The pain receded. Consciousness cleared. She was a fighter again. German voices approached. They combed the forest in a line, no more than 100 meters to her. Irina loaded the rifle, positioned herself behind the oak trunk, put her eye to the scope. The world became clear and understandable. This was her element. The first German soldier appeared between the trees, walking cautiously, submachine gun ready. Irina smoothly pressed the trigger. The shot. The soldier fell. The Germans took cover and began firing toward the oak. Bullets slammed into the trunk, but the thick wood protected her. Irina constantly changed positions. Shot, movement, shot. She created the illusion that an entire detachment was in the forest. 4 in the morning, 2 dead Germans. 5 in the morning, 3 more. The count grew. 45 eliminated enemies. Von Salzburg understood this wasn't a wounded woman fleeing in panic. This was a professional hunter who had turned the forest into a battlefield. He ordered his men to fall back, call for reinforcement, surround the entire forest, wait for dawn. Going into the forest at night after a sniper was suicide. Irina took out the radio and transmitted a brief message to the center. Cover blown. Located in forest 2 kilometers north of Krasny Yar village. Request partisan support. The answer came in 10 minutes. Kotovsky partisan detachment 15 kilometers away. Moving to help. Hold until midnight. Another 6.5 hours. Morning came. The Germans tried to enter with lit torches. Irina shot the torchbearers. The forest plunged into darkness. Noon arrived. Von Salzburg ordered the forest set on fire. Soldiers doused bushes around the perimeter with gasoline and ignited them. Fire crept inward. Smoke filled the space. Irina retreated deeper toward the swamp. She knew fire wouldn't pass there. Too wet. Evening fell. She reached the swamp, sat on hummocks, redressed her wounds. The morphine was running out. Pain returned. Strength fading. 11:30 at night. A distant sound reached her ears. Submachine gun bursts, shouts, grenade explosions. The partisans came. The Kotovsky detachment struck the Germans from behind. 60 fighters against 100. But the surprise of the attack gave advantage. Irina crawled toward the sound of battle. She needed to reach her own side. She crawled out of the swamp half an hour later. The battle still raged. The Germans defended, but the partisans pressed them. Irina saw von Salzburg retreating toward the village, covering himself with soldiers, trying to save his skin. She raised her rifle. The last round in the clip. Distance 400 meters. Darkness, smoke, moving target. An impossible shot. But Irina Gromova didn't bear the title of best NKVD sniper for nothing. She inhaled, held her breath, aimed. She caught von Salzburg in the crosshairs. Smooth pressure on the trigger. The shot. Von Salzburg stumbled, fell, didn't rise again. The Germans wavered, their commander dead. Partisans advancing, a ghost sniper alive. They ran. The partisans stormed into the village behind them, liberated residents, captured weapons stores, set fire to headquarters. Partisan commander Major Gromov, her namesake but not relative, found her at the swamp's edge. She sat leaning against a tree, rifle on her lap, eyes closed. "Comrade Senior Lieutenant," he called. Irina opened her eyes, tried to stand, but her strength was gone. "Reporting," she rasped. "NKVD Senior Lieutenant Gromova Irina Petrovna. Mission completed. Transmitted 19 radiograms with intelligence. Eliminated." She paused, counting. 324 German soldiers and officers. The partisans carried Irina from the forest, loaded her onto a cart, covered her with a blanket. Villagers gathered to see off the detachment. They looked at the simple milkmaid who turned out to be a hero. Old Marfa Ivanovna crossed herself. Queen of Heaven, who knew our Irina was like this? Irina smiled through the pain. No one was supposed to know, grandmother. That's the job. Partisans transferred Irina to frontline scouts. Her story reached division headquarters, then front command. Awards: Medal for Courage, Order of the Red Banner, rank of captain. By war's end, her count would reach the real 309 eliminated enemies. After the war, Irina Gromova returned to Krasny Yar. The same house, cows, work on the collective farm. Her scars and the rifle she kept as the main family relic reminded her of her exploits. The feat of a simple milkmaid who became a sniper became legend for the entire district, a symbol of the unbreakable will of the Soviet people. On holidays, veterans tell children, it was people like this who won the war. A simple peasant face, weathered workers' hands, eyes full of determination. This was the real weapon of our victory. If you like this story, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and share the video with friends. Write in the comments what other stories of the Great Patriotic War you'd like to hear. Eternal memory to heroes. Victory was forged by the courage of each person.